Hello and welcome to the third episode of Citizen Meta 1. Today we're going to be talking about three different things. The first is the new studio that you can see here and the UI I'm developing for this system. The second is the current state of our full body solver. There's a couple new additions that we'll be pointing out. And third, most exciting, is our prop system that allows us to interact with things like this moose and this mouse here. So let's jump right into this and we'll start checking out some of the new developments. So first up, let's talk about the new studio here. Relatively simple scene with a desk that I created in Maya. It's modeled after the exact same Vera desk that I have, except it has a kind of a cool gray texture with a UV checker over it that is the actual UVing of the desk. I thought that was kind of cool. And I have my exact Logitech keyboard and mouse that I have in the real world. And over here I have the exact HP monitors that I use on my systems, and I'm going to have 3D versions of all the computer hardware I use for whatever reason. I also have this lovely Unreal Engine neon logo. I thought that looked kind of nice. And so this is going to be my home base for now, and as you can probably tell, with this system and project, I'm mainly concerned with getting the upper body right, because this is kind of an approachable and within scope project to try to get this working all together. So that's it for the visual side of the studio. Let's look at some of the behind the scenes as I hold the B button and bring up our brand new menu system that we have that is inspired by Half-Life Alyx with a kind of worse take on it because I'm not as good as their UI designers. Anyway, if I hit A, it's going to cycle through the different settings, which we only have a couple exposed now, but I'm going to expose all of them into this menu setting so that it's very visual for you, the viewer, and your viewers eventually on Twitch, on YouTube, to see what it is you're doing. I think the behind the scenes of it is always kind of fun. So the first setting we have here is Locomotion mode. And if I hit A, I can cycle between performance and locomotion. And we're going to look at what that means in just a bit. I'm going to leave it in locomotion, however. If I go down, I can change the HUD to be off or show the frames per second. Frames per second is extremely important for a system like this because we want to check how our performance is doing based on the art of our scene, the lighting, and even the solver on the MetaHuman. You'd be surprised if you start solving too much, like every finger and some other stuff that can be done here to give it really cool fidelity and cool features. It can drag down the performance of the system. Same with too much physics, etc. We need to be able to always diagnose the performance, and frame rate is one of those things. Also, we want to be able to check how our graphics card is doing as well. So we're going to have a lot more things on the HUD. Currently, frames per second was the first thing I wanted to implement. So let's check out locomotion versus performance mode. So we're in locomotion mode, and that's how the game is normally going to start. I'm going to hide the menu and come back to the center here. What the locomotion mode allows you to do is to physically move your character's kind of like route or home around. So right now you're seeing some real world motion. This is me moving my body, rotating it, moving it. I can go up and down. This is being tracked on my body. This is real world motion. However, if I use my controllers, my joysticks, I can move myself around like this. And this is fake motion, right? This is like your home base, your offset. And this allows you to place yourself in the world wherever you like to be. It allows you to kind of line up your eye line and your performance angle. And it's being done with the joysticks and the two triggers to basically move you around. However, when it comes to actually performing, I actually find that having the joysticks be live, it's really easy to nudge them, and all of a sudden you're like over here while you're talking, and you don't want that. So what I have done is implemented our first mode, which is going to allow me to go to performance mode, and now those joysticks, if I move them, aren't going to do anything. Right? So they're going to do other things in the future, but right now they're not going to move you. So that's the difference between locomotion and performance. We're going to stay in locomotion mode for this next demo. And now let's talk a little bit about some of the improvements to the rig here. posted my demos on Twitter, and I got some really good feedback on my last dancing video that the shoulders of the character here were a little stiff, and that's true. Also, someone didn't like before that I'd smoothed out the chest too much, so now I'm allowing it to rotate a little bit more. I can't bend it side to side, but that's something we can enable as well. But what we have today is the very first beginning of our shoulder system, which the tracking's freaking out for some reason. Again, it happens. So what we're doing now is that if my arm goes up like this, I don't know if you can see it, but my shoulder is actually coming with it like that, right? Same with this one. So the shoulder activates after a certain point, and this allows for a slightly more natural pose, right? Before, the shoulders would have kind of stayed in place, but now we can move the shoulders up and down like this. And it's actually based on the elbow position currently. So I'm going to take off my controllers for a second. So this is going to look weird. So the controllers are off on the table in front of me, and I'm just going to move up my shoulders now because I'm just moving up my elbows. So here's kind of the shoulders in action. Both shoulders are now being activated here just to kind of isolate it. Not that I would probably ever do this while performing. Putting my hands back on here. Still in locomotion mode, so I was able to bump my position. But yeah, now we have a little bit of shoulder action here. We also need shoulders for here because in the real world, my elbows are touching, but they're not here. I need to have that sort of thing happening. When I go this way, it's pretty good, right? But this is just the beginning of our shoulder system, which is a derived measurement. I don't have shoulder trackers, so I'm just kind of guessing and doing a little bit of vector math. So there it is, shoulders, and you'll see why it's very important that I got the shoulder right for this next part. Okay, so let's get to some of the fun new stuff here. I'm gonna go into the menu and we're going to change to our performance mode, and I'm gonna keep my hands open. I'm gonna keep my hands in the air for a very specific reason. I'm gonna switch the mode here. Oops. We're gonna switch the mode, and then I'm gonna hide the menu. Okay, hands are up here. So what we have here, as my elbows kind of glitch out, is the very first look at the interaction system, and we're gonna start with this moose here. So we're not in VR, so I don't have a great judgment of my hand placement, but I'm pretty sure I'm grabbing the moose by the behind here, and we're going to grab it. And I can actually pick it up. So this is a new moose from Quixel. I'm calling him MetaMoose, and I've got plans for MetaMoose, but this is the very first demo of what is a very basic and poorly executed VR grab system, but for a 2D avatar system. So, and then give them physics like this. Boop, bounce, right? So that's something that you see a lot in VR, but I'm gonna be using the same kind of stuff here. But anyway, it's very hard to tell where your mouse actually is because I don't have an HMD on. So what I'm going to be doing is borrowing another concept from the VR community for when you say holster and take out a gun. So if I go up here and look at my new elbow system and shoulder system, I can pull out a gigantic mouse. So I just spawned it for myself here, and then I can put it down. I can go back in, take out another one, put it here, take out another one, and I can just keep spawning these gigantic Logitech mice here, which I find incredibly satisfying and funny. And they all have physics, so I can still do this. Boom. Just knock them out of the way, and I should be able to throw them. I don't have any forces added to this, but I can throw them like a frisbee. Like this, right? And then if you were doing a serious mouse demo or scene, you would have a normal size mouse, your hand would go to the right pose, and then when you put it on the table, it would track the surface like you saw in our table demo. But I just found this extremely entertaining to be able to take these mice out and stack them up. And it just kind of shows the evolution of the system moves closer and closer towards VR and further from like raw mocap. Now we're gonna have a raw mocap mode in the actual menu setting, but I think a lot of the fun comes from the potential of being able to do this, right? We can pull out weapons or any props that really need to happen. I'm gonna make one happen that when you go like that, a different prop is gonna come out. And then you'll be able to program in what prop you actually want to put in your hand and it'll do the appropriate pose, etc. I'm just smashing mice out here. We're just smashing these mice. Anyway, that wraps it up for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I am going to be doing more serious stuff here. We're going to be typing on the keyboard and using our mouse and doing serious interaction systems, but never hurts to have a little bit of fun either. That wraps it up again. I'll see you on the next video.